Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome for the Bhakti Shastri class for every Saturday. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So dear devotees, welcome for the class today. So we had completed the 8th shloka, and now we will be actually moving towards the 9th shloka. So it says over here, yeah. कटव अम्ल लवण्णा तीक्ष्ण तीक्ष्ण रूक्ष विधाहिनः आहर राजस्येष्ट दुःख शोकमया प्रदाः. So he says that foods that are too bitter, too sour, too salty, too hot, pungent, dry, and burning are dear to those in the mode of passion. Such foods cause distress, misery, and disease. So these foods that are there, these are completely in the mode of passion. So all these bitter foods, Katava Amla, Lavanti, Ushna, Tikshna, Rukshna, these, so see, these foods have different characteristics also. Like when I say Katau, bitter, no, sometimes they say Katau Shabda bolti hai ye mujhe. Bitter, shabd hai. Amla, sar, you have must have tasted gooseberries, amla when we say. It's khatta. And lavanna, salty. Ati ushna, very hot. See, when he says very hot over here means tikha, spicy food. Okay, very hot means not really very hot food, in terms literally. But he's saying spicy food. Tikshna, very pungent food. Ruksha, very dry. That is why, see, nowadays people like to eat all these bhujiyas and, some dry things like, burgers. These are all dry. We just last time saw that fruits which are fatty, juicy, healthy, all those foods are in the mode of goodness. But opposite to that, dry food. Juicy ka opposite is dry. And vidhahina, it's burning. Burning means because it is so very ati ushna, it is burning your chest. Ahara. And such all these foods, okay, they are in the mode of passion. And then he says that, because see, even this ushna, what he's talking about, right, very hot, because sometimes if you see, people eat so spicy food that there are really tears coming out from their eyes, and they say, oh, it's very wonderful here. So like it's exactly like, people are watching some horror movie and then they feel some stimulus. And even nowadays, if you see, food is containing excess of salt or sugar or spices which are harming, especially with these French fries, you can say, and too much of sugary food. You have all these uh, different, juices or drinks which are ready made. All these maple syrups and all. So much of sugar they have, like, and that sugar is completely poisonous for the body. And nowadays, the science has proved that the white sugar is completely poison for the body. And these are only the main reasons for cancer and heart attacks and high cholesterol problem and blood pressure problems and many other bone related issues also, actually, because of too much high salt or too high sugar. So these are, some of the problems. And even if you see after this industrialization, these problems have gone increasing because they want to sell, and that is why they try to make it more tasty and they put more ingredients. And there are so many people who are starving, and there are so many people who are eating too much. You must have seen some pictures which, fat man is like, eating a big burger. So some people are eating too much than required, and some people are eating too less. And so there is no balance as such. So ahead, Krishna says that यातयाम गत रसम भूति पर्युषितम च यत् उच्छिष्टम अपि चामेध्यम भोजनम तामस प्रियम. Food prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten. Food that is tasteless, decomposed, putrid, and food consists of remnants and untouchable things is dear to those in the mode of darkness. So you see, what are the characters? Yat yamam, food cooked 3 hours before that is eaten, and gata rasam. So if the food is cooked 3 hours before and you start eating after 3 hours, maybe if you start eating at the fourth hour, fifth hour, sixth hour, or the seventh, or the eighth, or the ninth hour, then actually the taste of the food goes on deteriorating. Uska taste kam hote jata hai. And then it is puti. It starts smelling also because it starts decomposing. Paryushitam, decompose, like that way. So he's saying that, and sometimes uchishtam, remnants of food eaten by others, and a medium that is untouchable, right? So these all foods are in the mode of darkness, or that is in tamogun. So what does it mean that is uchishtam, remnants of food eaten by others? There are two aspects in this, right? That the remnants of food eaten by others. So it's talking about uh, the people who have not taken up to Krishna consciousness, and one is who has taken up to Krishna consciousness, who is a pure devotee. So when we eat food that is, honored by a pure devotee, and then we eat the remnants. So that those remnants, and when we eat, so the consciousness of that pure devotee gets instilled into the consciousness of another devotee. Pure devotee said, not normal devotee. That way. I remember once, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, he had come to Delhi, and we had cut apples for him. And that time we didn't know that, he had specifically mentioned that do not cut the outer, skin of the apple. I want it with the skin. And so we cut and we gave him. So what he did is, he ate only the middle part of the apple, and all that skin part, he actually left it for us. And then he was distributing. And we were thinking so nice that he's distributing on his own. And we had those remnants. So like these remnants, definitely we can have. Why? Because the consciousness of that particular person enters into our consciousness. And um, whatever we lack in our devotional life, so that particular person's this consciousness fills up. If for example, एक गड्ढा है ना? So, when you push the ingredients of this pit to another, then that pit fills up. So currently, we can say that, like, for example, I'm talking about myself, that that point of time, I had a very hollow consciousness or a very hollow understanding of even Krishna. And when you take the remnants of a pure devotee, then you can understand Krishna, you can appreciate Krishna, and you can serve Krishna in the right mood. The mood, initially when devotees become devotees, or like people become devotees, their understanding of Krishna is, I want to take from Krishna. The understanding is not that I want to give something to Krishna, I want to offer something to Krishna. But when such pure devotees ka remnants, when we take, then they have this mood of giving to Krishna. Now, that particular mood of giving to Krishna, we will also adopt that mood of giving. And then that's how, we also become pure into our consciousness. And then we also develop that same compassion, that same mood and mission, what, the pure devotees want. And that's how we uplift our consciousness from a lower level to a higher level. And that is why they say uchishtam, remnants of food eaten by others. Now, if I'm eating anything that is not cooked by a devotee, or if I'm cooking anything if I'm eating anything which is cooked with a wrong consciousness, or maybe somebody is very angry and he or she cooked, or somebody was in a very bad mood. Now, when I am having that food, so even I will have that bad, mood, or I'll also tend to become very angry or frustrated, or I might have pride, or all these, anarthas as such. So we have to be very careful that where is the food coming from? Jaisa anna vaisa man. We say that, right? So when I'm eating food cooked by a non-devotee or yet to become a devotee, you can say, then exactly what happens is that I'm chanting. And through chanting, I have brought my consciousness up to a little better level, you can say. But then as soon as I eat food cooked by a non-devotee, then immediately that consciousness goes down. His consciousness has come in that particular food. And whatever his consciousness was there at that time, that consciousness has entered into my food and I'm eating that food. So that is why we have to be very careful that what type of food we are eating, how we are eating. Sometimes a lot of dry foods also we eat. So we have to be careful about that also, that what type of food that we are eating as such. And uh, see, even when you eat food from outside, we don't know how he has cooked or she has cooked, or what has gone inside that food, cleanliness, neatness. And of course, we must have seen definitely so many videos of, people not following the hygiene rules as such. So um, um, better avoid, eating such food, because Uchishtam of the spiritual master is considered auspicious, and Uchishta of other people is considered tamasic. And that is why he's saying Uchishtam of others is considered as tamasic. And then he's saying that cha amedhyam. So those foods are which are in the mode of goodness, uh, people should avoid these kinds of food. And of course, technical specification of which food to apply in which category, that will actually vary from time, place, and circumstance. But people say that, baked food, which is preserved for a very long time, is also in the mode of tamoguna. Or generally, when we talk about prasad, we talk about where it is, cooked properly, offered to the Supreme Lord properly, or when we take it. So even the baked food, if it is preserved for a very, very long time, it will definitely have its harmful effects. So generally, we just focus on whether food is cooked properly and it is offered to Krishna. And when the food is offered to Krishna, we should not go too much into analysis of whether the food is in the mode of passion or ignorance. No, prasad is prasad as it is offered to Krishna, and then other considerations like goodness, passion, and ignorance is like a subordinate to that particular principle. The principle is that I have offered this food to Krishna. Now, whether this food is in goodness, passion, or ignorance, right? That uh, does not, have too much of importance, because uh, material things will have some material effect. And if one is, for example, if one is having diabetes and a particular person has got some sweet prasad. So there, that it is not only the way to get prasad, but Krishna prasad, it's comes as like a holy name, or or Krishna prasad can come in the form of even Bhagavad Gita. Krishna ki Vani hai ye. And that is why, it is yukta aharasya viharasya. We have to use our intelligence and our little common sense to understand that what we should eat. If some, for example, if we are on a yatra and we have to travel a long distance, so we can take food which is cooked for a long time ago, or which is better than, material food. So there is Vedic standard, but we have to understand that we live in the same in a time and society where all these standards cannot be followed. We have to understand that spiritual principles are higher than material principles. So spiritual principle is food is to be offered to Krishna. And that is why, even if you see in the purport also, Srila Prabhupada says that, hmm, hmm. Therefore, to make food antiseptic, eatable and palatable for all persons, one should offer the food to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, antiseptic because karmic contamination will no longer be there. And eatable because it is worthy for human beings to eat as such. And palatable, why? Because the Supreme Lord's saliva is there on the prasadam, and that is why it is tasting very special. So, many people, if you see khichdi prasadam, even if we try to make that same khichdi in the house, uh, it does not taste that good. So people wonder that how prasadam is tasting so good. I'm making khichdi at home from so many years, but I'm not able to make that same khichdi. How ISKCON people are making that khichdi. Ingredients and everything will be the same, but they will not understand only that how this khichdi is being made so tasty. Or some people have this habit of eating onion and garlic. But without onion and garlic, the same food is tasting so delicious for them. They say, hey, even we cook the same sabzi at home. We also cook the same dal at home. But our dal is not very tasty. Our sabzi is not very tasty. How come, uh, you know, this particular dal and sabzi are so very tasty. So then, we just tell them that it is, Krishna Prasad and Supreme Lord's mercies in this and the Supreme Lord. We don't say, of course, Krishna's saliva, but we say that the Lord's mercy is there. And when the Lord's mercy is there, then definitely that food will become more palatable to eat. Okay, so the next shloka. So then Krishna will talk about, yajna and, sacrifice and all of it from this particular shloka. So he says that अफलांक्षितभिर्यज्ञो विधिदिष्टो य इज्यते यष्टव्यं मे वेति मनः समाधाय स सात्विकः. Of sacrifices, the sacrifice performed according to the directions of scripture as a matter of duty by those who desire no or reward, is of the nature of goodness. So he's saying that afala, akansha bhihi. So no means no akansha, or without any hankering for any result. Afala, akanksha bhir. So without any hankering, he's saying, or he does not have the desire for a result. And then he's saying that vidhi dishtah ya ijjate yasvatvam evaha. So he's saying that vididishto ya ijjate. Vididishto means that is what is expected, for me. Vidhi means, all the scriptures that are there according to the direction of the scriptures. And what is told in the scriptures? Yaha ijjate. So one who does that particular worship, then what exactly happens? Yashtvam eva iti manaha. Means what? This is what, I'm expected to do according to the directions of the scriptures. And then he's saying samadhaya saha satvikaha. So one who fixes this mind in this way, afala akankshavi yagna vididishtaha, and he performs, right, according to the Vedic injunctions. So he's fixing his mind. So the idea is that these three modes, they actually affect us much more internally than externally. अंदर से बहुत effect करते हैं, these three modes. So now is Krishna is actually talking about Krishna is actually taking us more deeply and the gross material activities like drinking or alcohol or illicit relations are definitely in the mode of ignorance. So Arjuna's questioning was not that kind of a gross or passion and ignorance, but Arjuna's question was more about people who have faith, but that faith which is not based on the scriptures, means that they're doing some kind of religious activities, but like for example, some people are doing even yajna also and thinking that okay, it is a good activity, but it depends on yajna. Yajna is done in which mode, whether it's done in passion, ignorance, or goodness. So if somebody is doing it selflessly, understanding that I have to do it what the scriptures are telling me, or according to the scriptures, they're telling me that I should do the yajna in this particular way. And if I do it, then I become purified and I become elevated also. So there is no ulterior motive for material gain when I'm doing it in this way, right? No expectation. Devoid of any desire for any result. Hai. Sometimes people do yajnas for example, somebody wants a material thing. Oh, if my this bungalow gets built, then I will do yajna. I will do yajna and feed 11 brahmanas. They actually say this. So they're desiring for some result as such, material gain, you can say. And then, but if the sacrifice or yajna is done without the desire for result, then such sacrifice is in the mode of goodness. And Srila Prabhupada also is explaining us, that any activity should not be done for uh, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, right? So uh, people think that dharma is for artha. Artha means money, right? So Prabhupada is saying that over here, generally they perform with the purpose of material benefit, but that is not in the mode of goodness. One should go to a temple or a church as a matter of duty, offer respect to the Supreme Personality, offer flowers and eatables without any purpose of obtaining material benefit. If everyone thinks that there is no use of going to the temple just to worship the God, but worship for economic benefit is not recommended in the scriptural injunctions. One should go simply to offer respect to the deity. That will place one in the mode of goodness. It is a duty of the every civilized man to obey injunctions of the scriptures and offer respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when Krishna says, no, man mana bhav mad bhakto, Krishna is demanding that we offer respect to him as such. So, dharma is not for artha. Dharma is not for economic benefit. So artha is just one of the aspects, but dharma leads to artha and kama and moksha. And moksha is one of the very important aspects, and moksha is not selfish. So we wanted to go beyond moksha. Beyond moksha is what? Beyond moksha is prema. So selflessness is considered to be good, and that selflessness is in the mode of goodness. And that is why over here he says, without any desire for result, which means only we don't have any akanksha, we are selfless in our consciousness for doing any yajna or doing any austerity that we want to do. Okay. So the next shloka he says, Krishna says that, so for example, now if somebody is going and doing everything according to the scriptural injunctions, that is in the mode of goodness. But on the other hand, somebody is doing only for results only, then what? Then he's saying, abhisandhyatu phalam dambharthamapi chaiva yat yijjate bharashreshta tam yagna vividhi rajasam. By sacrifice performed for some material benefit, for the sake of pride, or chief of the Bharatas, you should know to be in the mode of passion. So, such sacrifice is saying that he's desiring abhisandhaya. He's desiring some results. He's desiring some phalam from that particular sacrifice. And why is he doing also that particular sacrifice? He's doing that sacrifice because he's attached to the fruits. Uh, Abhisandhyatu phalam. So when he's attached to the fruits, then that is why he's doing that particular yajna. And then he's doing that yajna out of what? Dambhartam api chaiva. Out of dambha, out of pride, or out of attachment, he is doing actually this particular yajna. And then he's saying, Ijjate Bharata Shreshtaha. Oh, Bharat Shrestha, if one does that, he's doing, then there are two aspects to it. There is attachment to the result, and there is attachment to the doership also. Tam yagnam vidhi rajasam. So when you say rajasam, or in the mode of passion, the mode of passion has two characteristics. One is attachment to the result, and second is there is attachment to worship also. Sorry, the doership also. Right? So these are the two characteristics for a person who is in the mode of passion, that he is too attached to the result. I want to do this. I want to get this result. Somehow this result should come. And then he's attaching himself to the duty. कि मैंने किया है ये. I have done this. I have got this. These are my results. But shortly we will come to know that there are 5 factors for any outcome to come as such. So then he's saying that, yes, I should get that result, And when he's saying dambhartham, just see, how much yajna I'm doing, how much punyavan I am, everybody should know that I'm a punya person, I'm so kind. And so this kind of actually material result and material doership is in the mode of passion. And of course, we did discuss even in the 15th chapter that if I think I'm the doer and I get the result, then I'm simply in the mode of material consciousness. So if I am motivated by the same idea of, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and getting them in a better way through religion, then that is not glorious. That is actually in the mode of passion, rajasam, right? And Srila Prabhupada also says some sacrifice and rituals are performed for elevation to the heavenly kingdom or for some material benefits in this world. Such sacrifices or ritual performance are considered to be in the mode of passion. Okay, so the 13th shloka we'll go to, and it says that Vidhihinam Shushtanam Mantrahinam Dadakshinam Shraddha Vihitam Yagnam Tamasa Parichakshate. Any sacrifice performed without regard for the directions of scriptures, without distribution of prasadam, that is spiritual food, without chanting of the Vedic hymns, and remuneration to the priest, and without faith is considered to be in the mode of ignorance. So we did passion, we did mode of goodness, passion, and now he's saying that what is in the mode of ignorance. And Krishna talks about sacrifice in the mode of ignorance over here. So he says that vidhihinam, so without following any scriptural injunctions or scriptural directions, you can say. And then he's saying artham annam. तो आपने जो है prasadam distribution भी नहीं किया. You've not distributed also. So generally, whenever there is a sacrifice, to be performed, that time there should be distribution of food. And if you see, that is why even in the Govardhan Leela, later part, food was distributed to everyone. If you see, even in during Prabhupada's time also, that in early days, even though he was not having any guarantee of his own food also, what he would do, he would cut one apple and give at least one slice of apple to everyone. So, distribution of food, and that is why Prabhupada made it a point that in every ISKCON temple, after a particular program gets over, there has to be distribution of prasadam. Why? Because whenever we have kirtan, that is called a sacrifice. Initially we have a good kirtan, then Jai Radha Madhav, then actually we give a Bhagavad Gita shloka or a Bhagavatam shloka. We try to get them closer to Krishna. So this all comes under yajna only. It's a sacrifice for the Supreme Lord, for the glorification of the Supreme Lord. And then when we are glorifying the Supreme Lord, then that particular yajna ko sampanna karne ke liye, how does the yajna get completely, complete? When you are distributing food that is offered to Vishnu to the other devotees who can get purified, or to other the people who get purified. And that is why the Hare Krishna movement or the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has grown according to following this particular principle of the Bhagavad Gita, that wherever there is sacrifice, there has to be the distribution of prasadam. And if a pure devotee desires, then Krishna also becomes bound. That is why when Prabhupada gave one full statement, what statement did he give? He gave that particular statement that 10 miles, in the arena of any ISKCON temple, nobody should go hungry. And all ISKCON temples are able to perform or to follow that particular instruction of Srila Prabhupada. So this distribution of food is a very, very important aspect of any yajna that is being performed. And it is a principle that we need to follow, right? Even you give a little halwa, you give a little khichdi or khichdi and halwa or fruits, anything, but there has to be distribution of prasadam or food that is after that particular yajna. So then he's saying that mantrahinam adakshinam. Mantrahinam adakshinam means what? That mantra which is chanted, and if a mantra is chanted in that particular yajna, but I have not given a dakshinam, I have not given dakshina to the pujari or to the priest, then because of course, see, he has taken so much efforts that he has bought all those paraphernalia for that particular sacrifice. He's giving his time, energy, and plus he's a brahmana also, right? So brahmana ko dakshina dena, is there in these scriptural injunctions as such. So if no dakshina is given to the priest who has done that particular puja, and then overall, he's saying that shraddha virahitam, without any shraddha, there is no shraddha, there is no faith in what one is doing, then he is saying that tamasam parichakshate, such sacrifice is in the mode of darkness, and such sacrifice is in darkness, and it is a demonic sacrifice also, which will lead to inauspiciousness for everyone, because this particular sacrifice is only in name only. It's not for any benefit, and it does not lead to any good also for anyone. It leads only to harm. Why? Because there is no reciprocation only between the one who is doing or those who are attending. So there is no reciprocation. It's just for namesake only. This is what is being said. And then Srila Prabhupada is saying such ceremonial shows of religiosity are not accepted as genuine. And that is why they are in the mode of passion, because what are they producing? A demonic mentality. And that demonic mentality is not going to benefit the human society at all. So this is what Krishna is saying over here. And then the next, he's saying that Deva Dvija Guru Pragna Pujanam Socham Arjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsam Cha Shariram Tapa Uchyate. So, he's saying that austerity of body consists in the worship of Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, superiors like the father and mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. So see, apart from this yajna, dan, and tapa, what we have discussed about yajna and dan, and now as a part of tapa, or as a part of austerity, so austerity of the body, austerity of the mind, and austerity of the speech. So he's speaking over here that what is the austerity of the body, because through the body only we're trying to, that's a via media. So he's saying that Deva Dvija Guru Pragna. So he's saying that pujanam means what? Pujanam means you respect, right? It not really literally means worshipping or doing puja in one way or expressing that respect. So what all people are to be respected? One is Dev. Dev means over here Srila Prabhupada has translated as the Supreme Lord. Okay. And it can also refer to the Devatas or the demigod. Srila Prabhupada mentioned Deva refers to the Supreme Lord because, of course, Krishna is the greatest of all the Devas. And that is why he is referred to as Deva Deva, right? Devo ke bhi Dev, that way. And then he's telling Dvija or the Brahmanas. In the Brahmanas, then you have Guru and in general, anybody who is advising us in a knowledge. Right. And Chanakya Pandit says that a powerful man may be respected in his area, but a knowledgeable person is respected everywhere. Why? Because of the wisdom that he is having. So, powerful person can be respected anywhere in his area, sorry. But a knowledgeable person is respected throughout the world, not only in this lok, but in the higher planetary systems also. So he's saying that Pujanam, Socham, Arjavam, Brahmacharyam, Ahimsa. Cha. So if you see all these have an internal aspect also, these have an external aspect also. Because when you say Arjavam, Arjavam means what? That that person has to be simple, you know, or simplicity, straightforwardness. There should not be any hypocrisy in that, or there should not be any malice in him. And then he's saying brahmacharyam, which is celibacy, right? Ahimsacha, shariram tapochyate. So, austerities of the body. And when we are speaking about this brahmacharyam ahimsa, Krishna has, you can say coupled or clubbed brahmacharyam and ahimsa together. Earlier, he had coupled even kamesha, krodesha, rajoguna, samudbhava. So Kam and Krodh he had coupled together. Over here he's coupling what? Brahmacharyam and Ahimsa together. So if I want to control Kama, then Brahmacharya is the way to control. And if I want to control, Krodha, then Ahimsa is the way to control. So काम को अगर कंट्रोल करना है, काम वासनाओं को अगर कंट्रोल करना है तो ब्रह्मचर्य फॉलो कीजिए. एंड अगर हमें क्रोध को कंट्रोल करना है तो फिर अहिंसा को फॉलो कीजिए. So all these activities are classified of course in with these three activities of body, speech and mind. And we also discussed about some forces, the Vegas that are there, which Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also classified into bodily, mental and verbal. So the sannyasi, if you see that sannyasi has one danda, right? And that particular danda, it is representing that, oh Krishna, I will serve you with my body, mind and words. Manasa, vacha and karmana. I'll serve you with that. And over here also, if you see what Srila Prabhupada is saying, that one should learn or one should offer or learn to offer respect to God or to the demigods. So to learn to offer is indicating that austerity is something which we may not feel like doing it, right? And we might not feel that I don't want to bow down to the Supreme Lord. I don't want to do dandavat. I don't want to bow down to my spiritual master. So one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, I remember that he was very straightforward and he used to tell Srila Prabhupada Now, Prabhupada, I don't feel like bowing down to him. Or down to I like to hear your classes, and I like to, do services and all, but whenever I see you, I don't feel like bowing down. So Srila Prabhupada said that even if you don't feel like offering obeisances, still you do it, then you will feel like doing that. Sometimes, small children, they don't like to do brush. But what we tell them that no, you should brush. This is good for you. We try to explain. You don't feel like doing, but you still do. So then that gets instilled into that child's samskaras. So similarly, even if we don't feel like bowing down to the Supreme Lord or the spiritual master or, to our superiors, but still, as a matter of duty, uh, we we should, you know, uh, offer our obeisances, and in that way, slowly, what happens? See, what happens when we offer obeisance? There is a science behind it. Okay, so when I am offering obeisances to the Lord, what am I declaring? That I'm offering my ego to you, Krishna. I have a lot of ego in my heart, and I don't want this ego because I want respect from everybody, but I don't want to give respect. That is my ego. So when I bow down in front of the spiritual master, when I bow down in front of the Supreme Lord, all my ego that is there gets shunned down. I come to the point of admitting my own self that yes, I am the servant of the Supreme Lord. I am the servant of my spiritual master. Otherwise, the ego is so puffed up that he thinks, or the ego thinks, or the person thinks that no, I am the supreme. But the moment the person bows down to the Supreme Lord or to the spiritual master, then he knows that no, these two are supreme and I am just their servant. So, to get to that particular point, that I am the servant of the servant of the servant, and that when you bow down, then you start becoming humble. Till the time we don't bow down to our superiors, then we don't become humble, and we still remain egoistic or arrogance is there in us. So this is the science behind bowing down, and why Krishna is saying man mana bhav mad bhakto madhya jiva namaskaru. Why is he saying? Because he knows that the jiva is completely puffed up with false ego. Now when the jiva bows down to the Supreme Lord, he is putting down his false ego, but his true ego gets awakened. And what is that true ego? That I am the servant of the Supreme Lord. That is his true ego. So the false ego tells that, I am supreme. But the true ego tells us that Krishna is the supreme, or the spiritual master, is the one whom I should be obeying him. And that's why we bow down to the Supreme Lord. That's why we bow down to the senior Vaishnavas. That's why we bow down to the spiritual master. Right? So there is a big science. And we have seen arrogant से arrogant व्यक्ति भी बिल्कुल विनम्र हो जाता है within a short span of time when he starts bowing down first to Srila Prabhupada. In fact, it starts only by bowing down to the Vaishnavas in the temple. So when you enter the temple, you first bow down to the Vaishnavas outside the temple hall. Then you knock the door, you bow down to Srila Prabhupada. Then you go towards all the three altars or two altars. You know how many altars you all have in your respectful temples. And then there is another science also which says that, okay, why do we bow down from the left hand side only and not the right hand side? So on the left hand side, we have our heart, right? And the left hand side heart is very close to the person whom we are bowing down to. Say, for example, we are bowing down to Srila Prabhupada, right? So we say, Srila Prabhupada or Krishna, this my heart belongs to you. I belong to you because I am your servant. So I'm offering my this heart which is full of malaise, which is full of anarthas. Kindly accept this and clean this heart. I want this heart, to be cleansed by all the anarthas that I have in my whole, consciousness as such. And that's how when we bow down, we tell Krishna and the spiritual master that Krishna, from this day, I am yours. Prabhupada, from this day, I am yours. And that's how, slowly, slowly, we beg. When we are bowing down, we are begging. Of course, we are international beggars, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We are international beggars. So we beg to the Supreme Lord. We beg to the spiritual master that kindly accept me as your servant. Kindly accept me. Kindly accept this fallen soul as your own child. And that's how again and again, again and again, again and again, when we bow down, that's the time when Krishna accepts us. Because by the time we have fully practiced bowing down, our false ego has completely been eradicated. And the true ego has awakened that, yes, I am genuinely your servant. I'm genuinely wanting to be your servant and obey your orders. And that's how, when we bow down to the Supreme Lord, our false ego gets eradicated and the true ego arises. And that is why the Shastras are telling us to offer obeisances. Krishna is telling us to offer obeisances for our own good. So, like, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also sometimes used to faint, after taking darshan of the deities. But we can at least offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord. So by doing these things, a cultural impression is created in my mind. And then he says that ahimsa. So ahimsa, like, when some people get provoked, or some people provoke us, it requires some discipline and control that I should also not become provoked or not to even, hit that person or lash out that particular person. So to avoid these provocations is also an austerity. To not retaliate back again is also an austerity. Sometimes some people say that उसने मुझे एक दिया मैंने उसको दो दे दिया. Some verbal conflicts are there. No? So somebody says one and the other says, his ego gets puffed up. So when somebody is giving you one, you don't give him two. Or you don't give him only anything. You just keep mum. Just keep quiet. What will happen? He'll keep on giving you one, 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 one. And when you don't rebound back again, he will only get tired and go back. He will only keep quiet that, okay, this person is not affected only by whatever I'm saying. So silence is the best medicine. Or sometimes they say, no, silence is a silent killer. If you're silent and you don't retaliate back again, it will kill that person. कि क्यों नहीं बोल रहा है मैं तो इतना कुछ बोल के जा रहा हूँ उसको and then when he goes back home again is going to kill that particular person in frustration more that why is that person not retaliating. But for example, if that person has given you one and then you give two, it's going to ruin your peace of mind. And to actually have your own peace of mind, then you keep mum. The next day's chanting should not affect, or the whole atmosphere should not become a tamasic atmosphere that way, or your consciousness also in that matter. So when he's saying that materially, sometimes some people will suggest, okay, count from 1 to 100, or the reverse counting, 100 to 1, like that, or somebody might say that, okay, chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, 10 times, or remember some verses about the Bhagavad Gita, which talks about, danger of anger as such. So, all devotees, they have to develop, their own pulse button. the pause button is stopping the mind to flow, it's a default, you can say, trajectory of temptation and fall down. But that pause button may be like, chanting or doing kirtan or reading or some inspirational paragraphs you read or passages you read. And it might be different for different devotees. But in all circumstances, what are we trying to do? We're trying to take the shelter of the Supreme Lord. And when you take the shelter of the Supreme Lord, these provoking situations, in those provoking situations, you will learn to control your own self. You learn to discipline your own self. And you don't get provoked. So, in that way, how can you not fall prey to that provocation? Sometimes you won't believe that some people, um, they get into a fight where they are really not even needed, unnecessary. Two people are fighting, the third person bumps in, and then a fight starts between the first person and third person. The second person moves, leaves in. So not to even involve in anybody else's fight also. Let them, manage it. We have to just sit cool and calm. And of course, if there is some harm being done, like the person is trying to stab the other person, then that's where we should intervene in. But if there's a verbal fight, we just, need to be away as such. Because if you bump in, then, you might also, your consciousness also will get contaminated in that way. Okay. Arjavam. When he's saying Arjavam, uh, Arjavam means, simplicity or straightforwardness, which will be more of a inner, you know, mm, can say inner attribute. And, the word, it is relate. See, when you say Arjavam and Arjuna, right? So this word Arjuna is related with the word Arjavam, because Arjuna is also very simple and Arjavam means only simple. The more simpler we are, or the more simpler we live, the more we have the time for higher thinking. We say a simple living and high thinking. So the more complex we live, more our thoughts are caught up in living only. Of course, it does not mean that a devotee cannot have modern gadgets, etc. Because uh, uh, because of this media pressure that is there, people tend to buy many gadgets as such. But what level of engagement is there for those material things is required for my, service, for my social position? What is the necessary level of engagement is sucking me in? That has to be decided individually. And we have to live accordingly. We may not be able to disconnect ourselves entirely from the material things, but that does not mean also that we have to get ourselves completely entangled into these things. So that is why it's called Yukta Vairagya. How much ever you are able to utilize it for the service of the Supreme Lord, the service for saving your own time, so that you can focus more on serving the Supreme Lord. To that level, we can decide on it. So instead of simple living and high thinking, many people end up in simply living and hardly thinking. So the real thinking is, we have to think at the spiritual level, which is actually uh, which comes only when you do high thinking. So to do so many things at the material level, it will suck our mental energy also. And that is why more wealth, more rise in the social status, then the struggle, to maintain that social status will bring many entanglements also, irritation also, complications also, agitations also. So that is why the devotee tries to live as simply as possible in whatever time, place, and circumstances he is in. And that way, he can actually focus more on his relationship with Krishna. If you see, Srila Prabhupada used to say that a person requires only one land and one cow. That's it. With one cow, he can actually get all the necessities of whatever he desires, and he can grow whatever he wants to grow in his farm. And peacefully, he can actually chant and spread this particular mission. And that is Varna Ashram Dharma. This was Prabhupada's firm faith in that one land and one cow, if it is given to a person, that is more than required. And that is why we try to live as simple as possible, not complicate our lives with too many relationships or too many outings or too many, uh, uh, material objects or sense objects as such. But whatever is required for our Krishna consciousness, we just try to accept what is favorable and reject what is not favorable for my Krishna consciousness. Keeping that faith intact, that yes, Avashya Krishna Rakhibe, Krishna will definitely protect me, and Krishna will definitely take care of me. Okay. So then in the next, next shloka, he's saying over here that he's talking now about austerity of the speech in the mode of goodness. And actually, we should really try to live by this verse. It's a very nice verse. He says that Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyam hitam chayat swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchyate. He says austerity of the speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others. And also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. Sometimes people don't like to recite shlokas. They don't like to, mug up shlokas or, memorize shlokas. So, this is austerity. He's saying that Anudvega Karam Vakyam, those words which do not cause agitation in others. So what are those words then? Satyam, Priya, Hitam. Chayat. So, when you speak Satya, when you speak the truth, you're not going to agitate. Then when you speak, sweet words, then they are not harmful. And you speak beneficial words, so then these words are also not harmful. So it is a matter of the tone that we use. There are two sentences, the tone is the same. I mean, the work is the same, but in what way do we present it? For example, I say, get me a glass of water. So then what happens? It's a command. And when I say, please get me a glass of water, that's a request. So when I say, get me a glass of water, which means what? The signal goes to that person, oh, how rude she is, how, arrogant she is, how much pride she has. She's saying that, give me a glass of water. But when I just add, please, it's a request. And when you request, immediately the person's heart melts and immediately he will do it. Please give me a glass of water. Immediately he will go because the tone, immediately change, right? Please give me a glass of water. That way. So he's saying that Swadhyay Abhyasanam chaiva. Words that involve swadhyay. Swadhyay means what? Studying. है ना? And abhyasam. So when you study, you have to do abhyas also. You have to practice also. And that is why Srila Prabhupada has translated regular recitation of scriptures. Father means Vedic study, regular recitation of scriptures. And all these are vak mayam tapaha uchyate, austerity of the speech. So, when we say vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam, so, materialists have this habit of, or their tendency to talk hundreds and millions of things. And the spiritual inclination is to keep the speech chaste and focused on Krishna and things related to Krishna. Now, somebody might ask, "Ki Mataji, you're saying that keeping the speech chaste, we have heard about a chaste lady, but we've not heard about, a chaste speech or keeping the speech chaste." So, see, Krishna is Param Purush, right? And we are all Prakriti. Purush is supposed to enjoy the Prakriti, right? And in that way, then who are we to Krishna? If Krishna is Purush and I am Prakriti, then Krishna becomes my husband, right? So whatever I have, my ears, nose, eyes, hands, whatever it is, it belongs to Krishna. The wife belongs to Krishna. The wife belongs to the husband. Husband is what? Krishna. Wife is what? Prakriti. Husband is enjoying the wife. Krishna is enjoying the Prakriti over here. So in that sense, when the wife learns only to glorify her husband, she does not glorify any other man than her own husband. She learns to glorify only her husband because when she serves, the husband gives her a reciprocation. And that's how, when she serves the husband, she gets attachment towards the husband. She starts having those loving feelings towards the husband. She starts believing that मेरे husband जैसा कोई नहीं है इस दुनिया में, right? She starts having full faith in the husband, that my husband is only all in all for me, and I don't need to glorify anybody else than my husband. So that is the that is the meaning of to keep your speech chaste. So you glorify the Lord and his chaste devotees also. And you don't talk anything mundane. Some people have this habit of, talking everything that's happening in the news, or talking everything and long hours. Okay, if it is a minute or two, that's still okay. But long hours, they will talk about cricket, and they will talk about movies. They will talk about politics, and all these things which are really not required for our own consciousness, because all these things are anudvegam. They sorry, udvegam. Sorry, not udvegam. They are vegam. They're agitating words. And these agitating words are going to take our consciousness down. They're not going to uplift our consciousness. And when we say, all these things are all internal, how my consciousness is affected. So, Krishna is not talking about bhaktas over here. He's talking about in general about austerities, and he's talking about how even from material point of view, we should be able to discipline and regulate ourselves. So sometimes, sarcasm is often considered a sign of intelligence. When people hurt, others, or speak in such a way that the more they hurt others, the more they think that they are cleverer. If you've seen, even, in your own circles, you must have seen some people like to put down the other person a lot in giving some sarcastic comments as such. So yes, Sarcasm may require some cleverness, but that is not a very desirable use of cleverness. Desirable use of cleverness is to bring others closer to Krishna through us, or closer to the right track in general, even at a material level. Right? So, if I'm clever, what I will do? I will bring people towards Krishna consciousness, or I'll connect them to Krishna consciousness. So, by agitating people, we will only, just, agitate more, or instead of, educating them, we will just alienate people. So, when you say, uh, the sadhu cuts, and the sadhu cuts means what? When, if you see in Mahabharata, when Vidura speaks very strongly to Dhritarashtra, and he cuts his attachment. So the sadhu cuts our attachments, whatever attachment and false attachment we have to our family, to our loved ones, to our friends, to our material objects. He will cut those attachments. So this is like, good to detach somebody, but we can see that even before Vidura had a deep and strong relationship with Dhritarashtra, uh, then when he spoke those words penetrated. So because Vidura had a very deep connection with Dhritarashtra, then whatever words he spoke, those words penetrated. Otherwise, the words will not penetrate. And sometimes when we chastise people, instead of cutting their anarthas, we actually end up in cutting their bhakti lata only. We may think that, I have spoken Krishna's message for the, this person's, betterment or good. But, good intentions are not very good enough. And people should feel that, the trust is done. Giving even a feedback, how much feedback to give somebody. Kitna adhikar hai mere paas that I will give feedback to this particular person. Until unless I am his counselor, spiritual master, mentor, the Supreme Lord, and I am not in any position to give him a feedback also. So that is why uh, people should feel that we are their well-wishers. Then they will be able to see our good intentions. And then when you give them a feedback, then they'll definitely take. Otherwise, they will just see us by, the default filter of suspicion and skepticism, and then they will feel, our harsh words and, insensitive, and they may just close down and go away from, Krishna by that. So that is why not only in Krishna consciousness, but even in normal human relationships also, that what is my adhikar of giving a feedback, or what do you say, a message, or some, you can say, salha, to that particular person. I should know in what position I am in. It's like, because see, in most of the conflicts in the family and society, they come up because of, carelessness in speech only. So there is insensitivity in dealing. Kab kya kaha bolna hai, they don't know only, right? And that's why we need to have to speak false, but Krishna is putting Satyam as second first. He's putting Anudvega Karam. Speak truth in a non-agitating way. Speak the truth in a palatable way. That's what's it. So, there is a thing, there is this called Subhashitam. And it says that Satyam Bruyat Priyam Bruyat Na Bruyat Satyam Priyam Naste Cha Priyam Bruyat Esha Dharma Sanatana. Satya, or, they say that we should speak the truth, and we should speak it in a palatable way, or in a better way. And we should not speak any untruthfulness, and we should not speak any priya asatya also. And this is only actually Sanatan Dharma. This is what they are speaking. So Chanakya Pandit also said if someone wanted to rule the world, the most power for that person is the power of proper speech. That is when we say Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam. And then he's saying that such a person is able to make disciples all over the world. Means if somebody's speech is proper, then he's able to win hearts of every person. You see all so many of us sannyasi, they have such a sweet, palatable speech. Sometimes devotees say that Srila Prabhupada said that we should call spade a spade. That is definitely true. But we can see that Prabhupada was very sensitive in his speech. He was able to distinguish between, philosophical differences and even cultural etiquettes also. So Srila Prabhupada, was cooking for Dr. Mishra in New York. And although they have some very strong philosophical differences, and Dr. Mishra acknowledged that. And he survived by Srila Prabhupada the regulated eating habits. Otherwise, he would have fallen sick, and he would not have survived also. So if we think preaching gives us the license to speak harshly, then we have completely mistaken what preaching is actually. Preaching means only preaching in such a way that people should come closer to Krishna. Sometimes we may have to speak things which are unpalatable to people, but that does not mean that we make the mission of speaking those things. Feedbacks, as I said, that can be given in the formula of, when you give a feedback, there is a formula actually. It's called a sandwich formula. Sandwich में क्या होता है? ऊपर bread, नीचे bread, and बीच में, the main thing is there. So when you're giving a feedback to somebody, so you give a positive feedback first. You give him his positives, whatever positive qualities he has, you appreciate those positive qualities. So whatever positive things he has done, you actually, speak those positive things to him. Then you give him room for improvement. Means positive improvements. And then again, positive, you give him positive words of encouragement. So you glorify him. You glorify his qualities. So by this non-agitating speech, we will help that person to calm down. We will help that person to open his mind and open his heart also. Like, if you see doctor's behavior, you have seen many doctors, right? So you've seen how very positive words he will speak, and you must have seen many videos. There is a recently I saw one very short video, that YouTube short, that there is a doctor, and the doctor, he's a pediatrician actually, and how he will give injection to that toddler, khel mein, he will not even realize that the toddler will not even realize that I've been injected by some dose. So that doctor's behavior should be such that the patient feels comforted and reassured. Because if you come back, then you will feel that no, this is only the doctor. That is why you see, people don't change their doctors very easily. People don't change their servants very easily. People don't change their, barbers, or, grocery shop people, or the milkman. Because what has happened is a relationship has been built between the two. The both are feeling very comforted and reassured with each other. And that is why for years together, we don't change these people at all. And that is why Krishna is saying that Swadhyaya Abhyasanam Chaiva. So when he says Swadhyaya Abhyasanam Chaiva means what? Memorization of verses is not a burden for the head, but to unburden for the hearts. At the time of need, we can take shelter of these verses. कभी कभी लगता है यार ये भक्ति शास्त्री के श्लोकास भी लर्न करना, इट्स अ बिग बर्डन फॉर मी. But let us understand that these are not burden. These shlokas are not a burden. But whatever burden I have in my heart, it is going to remove that burden. Whenever I need, like Gajendra, if you see, what did Gajendra do at the time of, you know, crisis, when he was into a biggest crisis that time, he was able to remember the verses that he chanted in his previous life when he was King Indradumna. And that's how he was able to immediately take shelter of the Supreme Lord. And immediately Lord Hari came and, rescued him. So knowledge in the books is like money in the bank account. And knowledge in the memory is like money in the pocket. Pocket में से immediately you can remove, right? But bank में जाने के लिए you have to walk down to the bank or drive to the bank and then remove that money. So that is why if you memorize these shlokas are going to help you. And then you're remembering Krishna's Vani again and again, which means you're remembering Krishna again and again. Like when Krishna left, you know, at the end of the Dwapar Yuga back to his own abode, Arjuna was very morose. Arjuna was very sad that, my dear friend, I will miss your physical, presence. And, how much we used to joke around and how much we used to chit chat and talk and everything. And Arjuna was so morose. But the moment Arjuna started remembering the shlokas of the Bhagavad Gita, he came out from his shoka, moha, and bhaya. Immediately, his lamentation, vanished. His anxieties vanished. And his illusion also vanished. Immediately. So, that is why, if you see what is Prabhupada saying in the purport, the process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scriptures. One should not at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. Sorry, one should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. This is a limitless stock of Vedic culture, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech. So, it should be pleasurable to the ear, because through the ears only it's going to enter his heart. And that's how he's going to perceive those words. What words we are speaking to the audience and how those words are impacting his consciousness has a major impact in his life. So if I want to make somebody a devotee, then I should speak something which is उसके हित के लिए प्रिय भी है और उसके हित के लिए भी है. It is satyam priyam hitam cha. So I am speaking from the scriptures, means I am speaking something which is the highest truth. And I am speaking those words which are hitam also for him. उसके हित के लिए बोल रही हूं मैं कि आप माला करो, आप भगवान से अपना संबंध बनाओ, आप शास्त्र को पढ़ो, उसके हित के लिए हम लोग बोल रहे हैं, राइट? So that is why then such, words are, or the speech is in the mode of goodness. Okay, let's go to the next shloka. Then he's saying that are you able to see the screen?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Then he's saying that Manah prasada saumyatvam maunam atma vinigrah bhava samsuddhir iti etat tapo manasam uchyate. He's saying, and satisfaction, Simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. So he's speaking about austerity of the mind. He's saying that mana prasadaha saumyatvam. Mana prasada means what? Satisfaction, and satisfaction is the key when we say, right? Satisfaction of the mind. मन में ही हमें संतुष्टि होनी चाहिए. And सौम्यत्वम. So without duplicity towards others. मतलब क्या? आप उनके सामने कुछ और पीठ पीछे कुछ और हो. So Srila Prabhupada also is translated as simplicity. Of course, we'll see a little more ahead. And then he's saying maunam, silence. So when I'm saying maunam, actually the word maunam means silence. And Prabhupada has translated as gravity. Then he's saying Atma Vinigraha. Atma means self. And Vinigraha means control. Self-control. Bhava Samsuddhihi. Purification of one's existence. मेरा भाव जो है, मेरा स्वभाव जो है, मेरा नेचर जो है, फिर इसका प्योरिफिकेशन करना. But through what? Then when I am having full control on all these things. So tapo manasam uchyate. These are called austerities of the mind. So when I'm saying mana prasadaha, which is satisfaction, and many times, we feel that, I'm not satisfied in this life. Even, as a devotee, I want something more and more and more as such. So, see, satisfaction is not just an emotion. Satisfaction is also a decision. ये मेरा निर्णय है कि मैं इन्हीं चीजों के साथ संतुष्ट रहूंगी. It is not only a feeling which will come by its own, but it is also a choice, a decision that I'm making. Right? So sometimes, some people think that, my relatives have a very bigger house, and instead of thinking that, I don't have a bigger house, I think that my goal in life is something bigger or higher. And not just getting a bigger house, I choose to be satisfied. ठीक है, मेरे कर्मों के हिसाब से I have got a 1 BHK home. Let me be satisfied. How much does a person require to sleep? A 6x4 bed he requires, or a space that he requires to sleep. And, he requires, 2-3 meals a day, and maybe 3-4 clothes, you can say. If you see in previous times, now, of course, on our forum, we have many, senior citizens, and they will tell us more better that previously when we used to go to school, I remember we used to have only 3 uniforms, and maybe you can say 4 to 5 only clothes, and 1 or 2 maybe for going outside, right? So maximum 10 sets of clothes we'll have, including school and, party function or at home, that way. And still we were very happy. Still we were very happy. In fact, the whole family used to have only 1 cupboard. And nowadays, what is happening? Every person has his own cupboard, right? So, Srila Prabhupada is also writing in the purport also. He's saying that satisfaction of the mind can be obtained only by taking the mind away from the thoughts of sense enjoyment. कब मिलेगा मन की शांति और संतुष्टि? कब मिलेगी? जब हम मन को ये जितने भी इंद्र तृप्ति के ये जो साधन है उससे हम उसको दूर ले जाएंगे, थॉट्स को भी दूर ले जाएंगे. आई वांट टू एंजॉय, नहीं, आई डोंट वांट टू एंजॉय, लाइक कृष्णा हैज टू एंजॉय. So we take the mind. So the more we think, Prabhupada is saying, the more we think of sense enjoyment, the more mind becomes dissatisfied. Why? Because you want to do sense gratification. You want to give satisfaction for your own senses. You don't want to satisfy the senses of the Supreme Lord. So, in the present age, we unnecessarily engage the mind in so many different ways for sense gratification. And so, there is no possibility of the mind's becoming satisfied. The best course is to divert the mind to Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories. तो अगर मन को satisfy करना है तो मैं क्या करूंगी? मैं शास्त्रों को पढ़ूंगी. If I want to satisfy my dissatisfied mind, the moment I take shelter of the Shastras, immediately my mind becomes pacified. So, one can take advantage of this knowledge and become purified. The mind should be devoid of duplicity and one should think of the welfare of all. So, in general, our mind focuses on what we don't have. And it will keep on hankering. Just as a child, if a child wants a toy, वो अपनी मम्मी की जान खा जाएगा. Or that child will, till the time he does not get that toy, he will make his mother's life hell. That I want this toy, I want this toy, I want this toy. So the mind is also like that child. That mind, which is like a child, is focusing that what I don't have. And it is keeping on hankering for that. And nowadays, if you see, most consumer products are not really necessities. They are just luxuries, which by today's condition may seem like a necessity. And these advertisements keep on bombarding us again and again, again and again, again and again, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. And then, ultimately the mind lands up buying it. So Krishna is saying, Mana Prasadaha. Srila Prabhupada said to develop this prasada mind, think about Krishna's pastimes. And when the more we think about Krishna's pastimes, the more our heart and mind will become satisfied. हम जितना वैदिक लिटरेचर पढ़ते हैं, हमारा मन उतना ही संतुष्ट हो जाएगा. And he's saying that when Saumatvam, he's saying that without being duplicit towards others, it's like being soft and gentle, against a supple person. So simplicity is also a state of mind. So in general, if we think harsh thoughts about others, then we get complex. Don't get into complexities. Ultimately, one has so one of the complexity is like when you are trying to get into philosophical integrity of everything. But we are not God. And we cannot understand everything about everything. We have to focus on what are the important things in my spiritual life and focus on them and utilize them. Right? And not to make my life too complex also. That is called Saumyatvam. Ki bhai, I don't want to give a big show of that, okay, I am a devotee and I am doing this. And sometimes what happens now, why our relatives, they don't become devotees is because in the initial years of our Krishna consciousness, when we became devotees, we tried to portray them that, see, I am a lotus and you all are कीचड़ in front of me. मैं तो कमल का फूल और आप सब मेरे सामने कीचड़ हो. And that is the wrong signal that went to the relatives. The relatives could also actually feel that this person has become proud of being Krishna conscious. Though there is no consciousness of Krishna at that point of time, but he is proud of his bhakti. And that is why mostly, most relatives, they don't become devotees because there is some pride in them as such. So, yeah, and then that's how, we have to, it's very important that we just what are the important things in my spiritual life? I focus only on them and I'll utilize them. And then he's saying that Maunam Atma Vinigraha. Maunam means silence, silence. So if I want to talk, about uh, Mauna, then austerity of speech aega. But Krishna has put it here as austerity of mind. क्यों ऐसा किया है कि उन्होंने austerity of the mind को मौनम बोला हुआ है? And Srila Prabhupada has very, very expertly or aptly, translated it as gravity. So Mauna is not just a state of speech. Maunam is the state of mind. Sometimes, people will use Maun Vrat. I remember one of my cousin brothers who's in US. He does lots of Maun Vrat. But then, they will be writing on a slate and, and on the slate they write so much. And then they end up writing much more than what the word was spoken. So it becomes very troublesome for them also and for the others also. यार क्या बोलना चाहते है, बोलना तू, इशारों में बोल रहा है, बोलना है, and it makes things more complex and it does not even serve the purpose. So Maun is not just physical shutting of that mouth. It is said that sometimes, people speak because they found sound more tolerable than silence. And somehow they, get away from the mind as the mind is speaking so much to get away from the mind, I speak. So, what they do? They turn on the TV. And then, so really, this Maun is a state of mind. So when the mind is peaceful, that is what actually Srila Prabhupada is talking about, that the gravity. And when I'm saying gravity का जो बिल्कुल विपरीत है या ऑपोजिट है, वो क्या है? Like for example, when I am actually going to a very serious occasion like a funeral and someone is laughing, isn't that very insensitive? So that is why that gravity is required by devotees, that what to speak and when to speak and how to speak. So, and then he's saying Atma Vinigraha is self-control. Again, Krishna is putting that into the category of the mind because all our faults begin from our mind only. मन से ही हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? We are contemplating on the sense objects. That sources may be from outside or from inside, but like a flashback of a past memory that we have, and after that source there is contemplation, which is I don't check on it, and then when that contemplation is unchecked, then it is actually leading me to a degradation. So if we don't think about sense objects, we focus on Krishna or service to Krishna. The more we think about Krishna, the more we focus on our services to Krishna, the more we think that how will I bring different souls to the lotus feet of Krishna, then we don't have time only. We are more into a better monam state. We are into a grave state, or we are into a very serious relationship with Krishna. So he's saying that ahead is saying bhava samsuddhi. Bhava samsuddhi means what? That when he's saying bhava or swabhava, right? It's purification. And again, when he is saying purification, samsuddhi, it's exactly the austerity of the mind. Primarily, he is speaking about the austerity because impure and pure actions begin only with impure or pure thoughts. When he says, watch your mind and watch your actions, and then they turn into physical action. So as soon as we realize that the mind has gone impure thoughts, we bring it back. We don't allow the mind to go on with those impure thoughts for a very long time. Turanti, if there is an impure thought, what do? Immediately a Bhagavad Gita or a Bhagavatam should be there in my hand. Why? Because that only Shastras are going to purify my mind. And they are going to give me satisfaction. And then he is saying that tapaha manasam uchyate. All these are austerities of the mind. So Krishna gives an understanding of how can we practice Krishna consciousness. So for devotees, monam does not mean only silence, but gravity. And gravity comes by meditating on Krishna, thinking about Krishna, and talking about Krishna also. So mon can be talking about Krishna. केवल मैं बाकी सब चीजों के लिए मैं मौन रखूंगा, discussing about all lusty things, or discussing about all politics, or discussing about all things which are agitating my mind and senses. So instead of that, what will I do? I will glorify Krishna. I will be talking about Krishna. I will be serving Krishna. That is called monam. Okay. So then he says, he says that श्रद्धया परया तप्तं तपस्तत्त्रिविधं नरेह अपलांकाशित अपलांकांशिभिर्युक्ते सात्विकं परिचक्षते. The threefold austerity performed with transcendental faith by men, not expecting material benefits but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme Lord, is called austerity in the mode of goodness. So Krishna has described these, Krishna has described body, mind, and speech. And how do these austerities we perform? And Krishna says that these can be performed in three modes. Austerity of the body, mind, and speech can be performed in three modes. So the first mode he is discussing in this shloka, he is saying that Shraddhaya Parayay Taptam. Shraddhaya Parayay Taptam means with great faith, with strong faith, he is saying. And Srila Prabhupada, he is translating over here as Paryaya as transcendental. And Taptam is that which is executed with austerity. And that is saying tapas tat trividam narehe. Trividam means these three kinds of austerity. That he is talking about, body, mind, and words. Hai na? Earlier, what he is talked about. And he is saying narehe, by those nara or human beings. So when they perform this, then what exactly happens? Aphala akankshibhihi. So, aphala akankshibhihi yukte. So without that akansha of phal, so उसके पास आकांक्षा ही नहीं है ना, who are without the desires of fruits. So then that is satvikam. It is in the mode of goodness. That is saying that it is called parichakshat. It is called pariksha. So the characteristics of austerity in the goodness is non-attachment to the results. The attachment is to whom? The attachment is primarily to Krishna and not to the result. Now somebody may wonder that if the austerity is in the goodness, how can the faith be transcendental? So if faith is transcendental, then will austerity also be transcendental? And it will gradually become transcendental when this person becomes transcendental consciousness, or he has a transcendental consciousness. So sometimes we, because of association of devotees, we have faith in transcendence. And even though we ourselves are not in transcendental level, that is how we may have faith in transcendence. So, we practice the principles of pure devotional service, and although we are not pure, but because we are inspired by these pure devotees who are on a pure transcendental level, so we start practicing. And that is why it's called again Shraddhaya. Shraddhaya Payataptam. Then that is how it is transcendental. That is how the Shraddha is transcendental, because of the association of devotees who have faith in the Supreme Lord or in transcendence. And that faith becomes faith in the mode of goodness. So what I'm going to do is, I am going to just let me see the next shloka and where are my notes on that. We can just complete this. Then is saying that Shatkara mana pujartham tapo dambena chaiva kriyate tad iha proktam rajasam chalam adhruvam. So he's saying that penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. So he's saying that Satkara mana puja artham. Satkara means respect, what Prabhupada is translated over here. Mana means honor, and puja is worship. And then he's saying tapo dambena chaiva. So one who has performed austerity for that. So one is actually motivated by what? He is motivated by damba, the desire to show off, or he has that particular pride, you can say that way. Kriyate tad iya proktam. So when one does this, so what happens? Rajasam chalam adhruvam. This is Rajasam, chalam. It is flickering and is not factual. It does not last for a long time. Now, these things, what he is talking about, whatever tapasya he is doing, if he is doing for, gaining respect or honor or worship, it is not going to last a long. ये कुछ समय तक chalam, rajasam chalam, flickering it is. So, like, sometimes we take a resolution that I will not take this sweet again in my life because, we want to show others how austere I am. Then, after some time we take that, chupke chupke se bhi hum log le lete hain, like, so that's how, like, so sometimes we do austerity for the sake of honor. If I am completely fasting on Ekadashi, then, I'm watching how much other devotees are eating and thinking that, oh, these devotees have no sense control. So I'm judging people. And when you judge devotees, there is an element of envy in that. Envy has that characteristics of, judging people. So if I am doing like that, then my body may be fasting, but my ego is feasting. And in that case, the fasting, instead of making me spiritually advanced, it becomes a hurdle in my spiritual advancement. So what we do is important, but why we do it is even more important. But we should not think that, others are doing austerity, in this mentality. So for ourselves, we should be more introspective. And that is why, what Srila Prabhupada is saying here, over here, he's saying that persons in the mode of passion arrange to be worshipped by subordinates and let them wash their feet and offer riches. Such arrangements, just give me 1 minute, okay? So, persons in the mode of passion arrange to be worshipped by subordinates and let them wash their feet and offer riches. Such arrangements, artificially made by the performance of penances, are considered to be in the mode of passion. And that is why he's saying that the results are temporary. They can be continued for some time, but not permanent. See, genuinely, if somebody is doing, Papa, genuinely, if somebody is doing austerity, he is doing, you can say, Nirjala Ekadashi. Okay, so what will he do? He will not focus on anybody who is doing, what you say, whether somebody is doing or not doing. He will focus on his own sense control. And when I am doing this austerity of doing Nirjala Ekadashi, I will focus more on my relationship with Krishna. मैं ये austerity क्यों कर रही हूँ? क्योंकि I want to spend more time with Krishna rather than spending time judging people around. Right? So that Ekadashi day is a day where I focus my relationship to uplift my consciousness more towards Krishna and not judging people. And that is why, when you go in the temple and you sit in a nice secluded place chanting your rounds on an Ekadashi, that's more peaceful. Rather than asking, Are you done Ekadashi or not done? Nirjal ho raha hai, nahi ho raha hai? Because see, every person has a different body given by the Supreme Lord according to his own karmas. Some people can do Ekadashi, Nirjala, all the Ekadashis they can do Nirjala. Some people, because of their health, they cannot do. And let's have compassion for them by not judging them as such. The very fact is that he's chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, that's the biggest achievement for that particular person on an Ekadashi day. And that is why we should not judge people. So sometimes, sadhu will raise their feet to give Ashirvad also. And this is not a saintly attitude. What Prabhupada is saying, subordinates tell them to wash their feet, and it's not a saintly attitude. True saints will not allow even their disciples to touch their feet. So that is why we should see. I'll tell you what, there is a science behind this touching the feet also. So for example, somebody comes and touches your feet. So what is he doing exactly? Do you know that? He's taking all your good deeds that you have done. And then it becomes very difficult. Now, for example, you've accumulated such wonderful deeds. And that person, when he touches your feet, immediately he takes everything. Until unless, sadhus are very liberal. आके अगर किसी ने ऐसे ही कर दिया तो he does not chastise or this. But, why do people want to touch the feet of the real sadhu? Because they know इनके चरणों में ही सुख है. Real peace is in the lotus feet of the real sadhu. They want real peace. That is why they want to touch the lotus feet of that real sadhu or the real saint or the pure devotees as such. And that is why real sadhu will not even allow the disciples to touch their feet. But sometimes, the spiritual master becomes very obliged to his disciples for whatever they are doing to spread the mission of the Lord. And that is why on the Vyas Puja day, they allow their disciples to wash their feet and, offer some offerings of their sweet words and glorification for, their own purification. Because, see, the spiritual master on the Vyas Puja day, he's not very happy sitting on that Vyas asan and taking that all glorification on himself. No, whatever glorification the spiritual master gets on the Vyas Puja day, he is passing down to the previous acharyas. So the current acharyas who are being glorified on the Vyas Puja day, they actually give the whole credit to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, when he was there, he was giving this whole credit to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as such. So that's how we should also, whenever we get some glorification, we should actually learn to give that glorification to our own spiritual masters. Why? Because had my spiritual master not given me initiation, I would yet be a materialistic person only. I would never understand the importance of spiritual life. So the whole credit goes to my spiritual master. Whatever glorification, it is just because of my spiritual master. And मेरी पहचान क्या है? What is my, what do you say, पहचान को in English? What is what is my identity without my spiritual master, or what is my existence also without my spiritual master? So let's have gratitude towards our spiritual masters and follow in their footsteps, and not to be in the mode of passion as such, because these are temporary and they will not be very permanent for us. With that, I'll stop my speech over here. If anybody has any doubts, queries, questions, you can ask me.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, Kalyani.
Mataji, what is tasteless food? Means, can you give any example?
Tasteless food means जिसमें कोई स्वाद नहीं होता है. Sometimes some foods are very bland. See, these Mayavadis, what they do is they eat khichdi, but how is the khichdi, only rice and dal. No salt also, and nothing, no tadka, only bland boiling the rice and dal. That is called tasteless food. And they think that, they are very austere and they are very tapasvi and all. That's called tasteless food. Whereas there's just boiled, bland food is called tasteless food. No namak, no mirchi, no tadka, nothing in that thing. And tadka also agar hona chahiye, to ghee ka tadka hona chahiye, which is not very harmful. It because sometimes when you have this oil tadka, that oil tadka actually is giving you acidity more. Nowadays, these refined oils and all are very horrible. So in that sense, he's talking about tasteless food. Okay, Kalyani. Yeah, Parthasati, go in, Prabhu. You had some question.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, the food what we intake sometimes means we offer to Lord within the 3 hours time. But some food like sweets and all are prepared before the time. So how can we consider that? Because we were told it is okay, like you can offer after 3 hours or anything to Krishna also. Some sweets has to be prepared in well in advance, like so.
Yeah, for festivals and all, you need to prepare. Or
Yes, some farsans and all, savories and all, what we prepare in advance for that.
So I had mentioned that the principle is that the food has to be offered to Krishna.
Just then only we can have it, like.
Yes.
But it is prepared well in advance, after before 3 hours or 6 hours and all. Then also no problem, Mata.
Because if that food is cooked in desi ghee, it does not start deteriorating. वो सड़ना शुरू नहीं करता है. But if it is not prepared in ghee, then it starts, decomposing as such. So possibly if it is in ghee, that sweet is prepared. Even sometimes some people prepare gulab jamun also in oil. But if gulab jamun for Krishna, then that has to be in desi ghee only then. That way.
Okay. Thank you.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Hare Krishna, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam.